Hey everyone, Josh at Double Edge Sharpening, and as I mentioned in another video, I said I was going to do a video when I got the micro serration plate from Alex Lee, and it came in, and actually, as fortune would have it, or timing, I got a Jaguar. It's a German shear from a client of mine in town. It's a left-handed shear, and I actually got it from her where the tang blade, the front blade, which should be serrated, is actually missing its serrations because it's been sharpened a few times, I can tell. And so this actually gives me an opportunity. We're going to put the micro serrations back on this shear. I've already sharpened the other blade. It's all done and ready to go. Jaguar shears, they're a German shear, and they are a beveled edge, and some of them, the different styles, this is a pre-style relaxed, and doing some research, determining that yes, this actually is supposed to have a serrated edge on this beveled angle. So I've got the plate in here, I've got it all set up, so we're going to show you a before, use up the plate. So if you can see the edge here, it's actually quite shiny and smooth, and that's a beveled shear. There's no convexing on this blade. So you can see right now there's no serrations. It's just, see if it is just flat. So we're going to put some micro serrations on there. Now it's a left-handed shear. I am going to put on the angle guide so that I don't change angle. I've already determined what it's at. And what we're going to do is basically just engage this plate and bring the serrations on in it. There we go. Okay, we're starting to get it here. There we go. Getting the serrations, we got to get at the back here. Still not quite at the back. There we go. All right. So now that we've determined that even on the left-handed shears, I've got to go with it spinning right. Here is, okay, can you get it? The serrations back on that shear. There we go. So that's how that's done. So now there's a burr on here. We're going to put the shears back together and test it. Pardon me, I wasn't prepared for this. Let me get my little, what do you call it? I'm going to use, to get some of this burr off, I'm going to use my nail buffer and just pull it across here and just kind of remove that burr a bit. And then it's still there a bit, but then we'll put these shears together and we'll cut it with a piece of paper towel and do a test on the paper, on the single ply tissue. Okay, so that is simply how it's done. This is the diamond wheel, this is the serration wheel from, that magnet's good. So if you can see, it's actually, it's going to be hard to see. It literally is like a record player with grooves that spiral out. And then as you move the shear down, it basically puts those serrations back in. So not all hair shears have serrations. A few, like I said, these Jaguars do. Some of the smaller shears, some of the beveled edge shears, possibly even cheaper metal shears at times have them. just because that beveled edge is going to keep that a softer metal. It's going to hold a little bit better. But pet grooming shears as well have certain ones have serrations on a blade because you've got coarser pet hair. So I've actually got another pair that I'm going to try in a bit here. Sorry, getting this piece back in. Putting the square in the square, but not bending the plastic. A little tricky. Bear with me. These are the boring parts of the can't get that seated in there, it's not going to take the screw right. We want to make sure it's seated in there, and this is a little different. There we go. It clicked. Okay. I apologize for the delay. And these left-handed shears as well, these Jaguars are an older model. They're an actual screwdriver to tighten the screw as opposed to clicker plates. Again, older style, kind of a... Now, the other thing, once we close these shears up, I am going to be a little bit curious is if the tips are going to be spaced out a bit, because as we've removed material to reestablish some of that stuff, it might be... Okay, so we're going to cut the burr off on a piece of paper towel before we close it up, because the last thing we want to do is necessarily close it up and use that burr to damage. So I'm going to do this on a and get all that burr off. Oh, left-handed shears. I put it in my right hand. They won't cut right-handed. Gotta make sure you know which hand you're cutting in. It's amazing. There we go. The burr's getting cut off. There we go. Okay, so yes. So as you can see here, we've removed a bit of material. The tips aren't closing now, which happens over time. Can you see that? See the space there? It happens over time, especially when you're removing metal, and especially if somebody has damaged shears taken off a serration and you have to remove a little bit of metal to get that serration back on. So the first thing we're going to do, we're not going to bend the handles, we're not going to do anything like that unless we absolutely had to. We're going to remove some of this bumper, get them to touch. That's the first thing to do if you're going to remove something. Now, a bit of a burr, it's either stopping it from closing or the tips are actually a little bent. Yep. What we're going to do is another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close these, and I'm actually going to round off a bit of the tip so that it closes at a nicer spot. That's kind of the second option. So first is to remove some of the bumper. The second is to remove some of the material of the tip. Third is bending the handles, which is kind of a last resort. Just gonna round this a bit. Sometimes, like I said, you gotta kind of do things at your discretion, kind of try some things out here. So now that we've rounded that, closed it a bit, I'm going to get my nail buffer here and kind of try to smooth out the edge. Now, if this edge is a little bit rough, I'm actually tempted to put it on the lapping stone and just all right, those feel better. They're closing now all the way to the tip. You see there's no gap now. Let's focus, focus, focus. No gap now at the tip. So now, okay, left-handed shears. Yeah, okay, they're closing better. Let's test them out on the tissue here and see how they're cutting on wet tissue. Okay, finger out, put it in. There we go, cutting all the way through. Again, there is a little bit of a pull there at the tip, which makes me go, we might need to work it a little bit more. However, see how it's cutting? So here are my test cuts from before. I don't know if you can actually see that. And now that's cutting again, pulling a little bit at that tip. So that's, I'm going to keep working on that. But it's cutting through the paper towel or the single ply tissue now all the way through. Just going to work that a little bit on the tip where it's cutting across there. Yeah, just looking at that. Just taking that nail buffer a little bit, trying to work out any kind of catch there might be. And I might, let me just grab one thing. Sorry. Again, I don't recommend bending shears a lot, but sometimes just a little bit of a nudge here. So we're just gonna take that and just bend it out just a bit. Just a little bit. Just little movements. We're not gonna, and the other side. Feels a bit better. There we go. Oh, no. Not quite. Almost there. Almost there. Just a bit more. Again, little movements, not too much. Might just need a little bit more taken off. Again, you have to work and problem solve a lot when you're sharpening. It's not just cut and dry or cut and paste all the time. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. A little bit more off that bumper. Cross those tips a bit. And just a little bit more here. The last thing you want is a ping, which means you've broken the shear. Left hand, can't be left-handed. There you go. All right, so we're cutting clean. So thanks for checking out this video on re-establishing serrations on hair shears. If you like more, check out my YouTube video, my channel, subscribe and like, and thanks for watching. Check you guys later.